Yeah, thanks for having me. That is cozy here. It seems like I think half of you have seen this presentation already today, so it should be nothing new. To the rest, I'm about to show you something really groundbreaking. And so, Energy Web Foundation was founded in 2017. We are 8 years old, and it's a non-profit foundation in Switzerland. We have a team of 45 people, and we have hubs in Australia, US, and Europe. And so what we do is we bring corporates together, we bring parties together, and we solve a problem which helps them to communicate together or making business together. And we have been working with the largest corporations in the world, we still do. We have now over 200 companies, large companies using the technology all over the world. And it's very interesting, in the energy market, everyone knows us. In crypto, nobody knows us. And our clients, to be honest, don't want to deal with crypto. And that's why we have never been talking in the crypto market about what we do, or very, very rarely. And so this is one of the first occasions I'm actually speaking to crypto audience, so to say, since many years. So our vision is essentially our name. We aim to build the energy web. And key of what we do is decentralized business logic execution. So we are looking at markets where there is a lot of players, a lot of corporates that want to interact with each other, consortia or regulated markets in energy. So the business as usual here is it's not like something new. So the business as usual was many corporates came together and they defined communication standards. But what happened is usually to use this communication standard to build the digital solution, it was usually built inside every company how to use this communication standard. So creating standards that was always driven by consortia in different business sectors. But to drive the market further, it makes it much cheaper to externalize what the companies had to do inside to use those communication standards and to go either for centralized business coordination or decentralized business coordination. So until a few years ago, decentralized business coordination did not exist as a concept. And so if you look at that reasons, and so why you would go for decentralized business logic execution or centralized, so you would think, yeah, this is the reasons made by someone who comes from crypto. And you have seen the previous keynote. But no, these are not the reasons coming from us. So there is a report, so the energy market in Australia is running on our software. And the energy market regulator in Australia has written a lot of reports why it went for decentralized business logic execution. And so you download the report, just look for it online, you put it into ChatGPT, and you ask ChatGPT, why did they go for these reasons? This is the reasons of the regulator. Why it is more safe to go for decentralized business logic execution rather than for centralized logic execution. It's just safer. And security is the biggest aspect in this regard. So this is what we are essentially selling. Decentralized business logic execution is at the core of Energy Web. And I would even call Energy Web Foundation, we are kind of a consortium making machine. We have built a lot of solutions and it was always together with corporates. So I have to give you a little bit about the historic development, how this happened, because this is something very, very unique. Again, there was a lot of kind of consortia that came together. They created a business standard, and it was just a communication protocol. It was a piece of paper. And then everyone themselves designed the software inside the houses, how to use this communication protocol to communicate peer-to-peer. And now what we have is we created joint business logic. We define the logic, how we want to communicate with each other, and then we need a decentralized execution of that. And how do we come to this decentralized execution? So this is T0. We are here now. And the last 8 years of our existence, I would generally separate in two parts. The first part, as we started in 2017, we onboarded over 250 of the largest companies worldwide, from Japan, from South America, from pretty much all over the world. And we joined forces, and the first things we showed them the research we have done, how blockchain could enhance energy markets, which we actually started doing while Ethereum was built in 2014. So we had 2 years of research, and then we decided, and we had like 20 business models, and we thought, like, how do we bring this into the energy market? And the most sensible decision we could come to, we need to bring the market together, and we need to show this to them, and we need to develop these solutions together. And that's exactly what we did in the first 4 years. We created task forces, and we showed them all kind of business models, and these task forces created specifications. And then we did myriads of POCs, proof of concepts. So if you look in media, just Google Energy Web, and you can put inside pretty much every large company in the world, there was for sure a proof of concept. And it went pretty through every business vertical, from refinancing renewable assets, every business kind of model in the energy sector. So in this time, actually what happened is the initial goal was, once we come up how we can execute decentralized business logic, the thinking at that time was we would put it on Ethereum. And because Ethereum was the only thing existing at that time. And but then what happened is the Ethereum network split. And so there was a hard fork into Ethereum Classic because of a hack. And so that triggered a discussion in our consortium, or inside the consortium. This is something we cannot accept. How can we run mission-critical activities on something when, if it's split, on which chain do we stay? And so there is, and because of missing governance in the whole network, it's unclear for us what happens if a network splits. And so just to give an example, Bitcoin network has split many times, but the community is always, there is always a winner of a split. How many times did Bitcoin split, Andre? 6 times? 5 times? It was like every second year it splits, a community splits off, keeps their own chain with some advancements and so forth, but there is like one, the community stayed with the original Bitcoin vision. And that was for us, that triggered us to design a solution which we call proof of authority. So we pioneered the proof of authority network, where what that means, it's basically a consensus mechanism where we define who is everyone validating the chain. And so the validators are known parties, and all the consortium partners, they were the known parties which were starting nodes, they were running computer nodes, which all created the network. If you look at the scale of decentralization, you have the full decentralization in Bitcoin and Ethereum. This is maybe a hybrid approach. So we have validators all around the globe that are part of this first chain that we launched, which was interesting because actually the innovation of proof of authority, which we kicked off in the consortium, was copied many, many times, even by exchanges. So most of the chains of the exchanges, they're actually proof of authority networks. And there is many other chains which copied that model. So that was the first thing that we pioneered from corporate sector, which is very rare. Usually you would say like, no, corporate sector doesn't pioneer anything. No, but this is literally something that was groundbreaking at that time. And also in 2016, as we started, until 2020, it's a bit too bright, but you don't see there is like a curve here. It's like a hype curve. So in 2020, it was pretty much the peak of the hype of potential applications of blockchain in the energy sector. At that time, we saw the birth of over 120 startups all around the globe trying to deploy this technology in the energy sector. Majority of this startup has died, 97%. And actually here in the second era, we see a second kind of hype curve developing, which is called the DePIN sector, decentralized physical infrastructure. So we actually see a revival of this sector with a slightly different name. So what we did here is, in 2020, after doing a lot of the proof of concepts and pioneering the proof of authority network, we launched the chain. And we launched the Energy Web chain, and a lot of these proof of concepts, they actually then in the second era, they were put into production, and they're now operating in production, and they're making revenues. And I want to show you these revenues, what they're actually doing. And most of this stuff is happening so much in the background, retail will never touch it. And so if you want to participate in energy markets, specifically in regulated energy markets, it's impossible today, except you have a lot of money and you can buy a grid operator, which is a very lucrative business because you're allowed to make 8% profit. It's actually guaranteed. So, but to participate in market is very, very exclusive. What we did with EnergyWeb is we opened that market accessible to anyone. So now we actually, in this second phase, we came to product market fit with all the products that were designed. In the last 2 years, most of these proof of concepts, many of these proof of concepts came into production and started generating revenues. And now we're at a crossroads. In the next few years, we're now going into scaling of those solutions. And we're bringing those revenues on chain. So to describe our ecosystem, so from the EnergyWeb ecosystem is basically 4 personas, it's 4 different entities. On the one side, we have parties that build a solution, which is mostly consortia. They build a solution, they have their own user interfaces, their own applications, and then we have users of these solutions. We have PayPal, BlackRock, a lot of large corporations which are using those different solutions. I will describe the solutions a bit more in detail later. And then they all stay in the Web2 environment. They don't want to deal with tokens, they don't want to pay with tokens, because we're still not at that stage, which we would love to be, but we're not there yet. And so that was, I think, one of the second big innovation we did. We merged the 2 sectors, the Web2 and Web3 environment. So all the corporates that are dealing with us, they have nothing to do with Web3. They don't need to hold tokens, but they can enjoy the decentralized business logic execution. I'll go a bit more into detail how that works, how the intersection of Web2 and Web3 works. So we have clients that want to use those solutions and they just want to pay simple subscription fees or do monthly payments to use those services. And so lots of these services are paid in US dollars, in euro. We even have one that is paying in Bitcoin very soon. And so this is the one side. And the way these kind of personas interact with us, we have built a framework how the solution builders, they define the business logic, and they launch the solution, and it's up to them to find product market fit with this solution. But again, it's mostly a consortium that defines a standard, and this standard is always using this kind of decentralized business logic execution, which I will describe as next, which we call generally the worker nodes concept. So on the Web3 side, we have people which we partially don't know. These are people all around the globe which contribute compute. So we have a desktop application anyone can download, and you can contribute with your compute or from cloud compute to a specific solution. So on this desktop, there is multiple solutions. You just sign up and you say, I want to contribute compute to this specific solution. And then we have token holders. We also don't know who they are. So the token is available on multiple exchanges, and you can buy it. You can go also on this application, and you can contribute to a solution. Now, why is it necessary to contribute a token to a solution? It's very simple, because let's assume there is an application that is validating a very mission-critical activity. And so, which means the builder, the solution builder, they created a specific business logic which they all agreed in the consortium. We want that it's being executed exactly this way, but we don't want everyone, as the variables come in, which is transactions, we don't want everyone to know what's actually happening. All we want to know is that the logic is executed always the same way. And so there is actually dots in here. So let's assume there is like eight computers which execute this business logic. And what they do is they all execute the same logic. But so let's assume 6 of them have one result and the other 4 have a different result. So who do we believe then? That's why we needed to implement like a function, like a real-time security. So you can only run a computer if there is stake, if there is a financial stake on your worker node. So which means if some computers try to run a different business logic, they lose their stake. They're getting slashed. And this is something like a real-time insurance of the solution. This didn't exist before. And so therefore, the security level of executing something is by far higher than having one central entity that is maybe routing this, where this entity could be corrupted. And so this is the most simple way I can explain to you the worker nodes concept. But it's essentially the same way that the blockchain works. And so this worker node concept is the core product, is the core framework that was designed together with this consortium. So let's come to the solutions. So generally, there is a bunch of solutions that run now on the technology we don't even know about because it's an open framework. But the solutions we have been actively co-developing, on the one side, I would say like generally we have three type of activities. One activity is we call the product digital spine. It's identities of assets that participate in energy markets. It's the messages between the identities in energy markets. And this product also runs on the worker node concepts, and it's deployed in the Australian market. It took us 5 years working with the Australian energy regulator to deploy this in many proof of concepts, and now they're rolling it out into the market. But obviously it takes years to roll it out because now there is like a voluntary onboarding period, and then in a few years it becomes law. And so they have opted for this, and for us it was very important because the Australian energy market regulator is one of the most advanced in the world. It's the most unbundled market. So every regulator that wants to increase liquidity and security in the energy markets, they look at what the Australians are doing. So what happened after this deployment is we have a very big inbound of requests by regulators from all around the globe. We're working with Costa Rica, with many other countries, small countries that are interested to advance the market in the same way as the Australians did. So this application is running and is it's generating revenue. The revenue is there because you need to pay an incentive to the worker nodes. You need to pay an incentive to the people which contribute compute and stake. And that is what is creating revenue, because that's what they opted for. Instead of centralized, they opted for decentralized. You can think of it like Amazon Cloud, AWS, but it's decentralized. It's more safe, you know. And so you need to pay that. And that's what we call on-chain revenue. So on the other side, green proofs, this is what we do here. We build registries. So the total, let's say, commodity markets, if I'm talking of all kind of fuels in the aviation, maritime sector, cement and steel, there is a very big push of validating the transactions that are happening. Where does the fuel come from? Simply because there is a big drive to have to understand the footprints of everything, of products, of provenance and so forth. So what we have pioneered here was Shell and many other companies. We have created registries in the aviation markets, safe aviation fuels. We have we launched last year a platform to track green fuels in the maritime sector with Maersk. And we're targeting pretty much all green commodity markets here. And just to give you, I don't want to go inside what is the potential actually of the on-chain revenue from digital spine. I just want to show you the potential, or not actually the potential because the revenue is already flowing. I want to show you what is the growth projections of these markets and how much money can flow to pay decentralized business logic execution. The third circle is we run something like, we call it circles, but it's essentially incubators. We have a lot of corporates that come to us and they say, we would like to build these solutions, and we facilitate them. We help them building this company using the frameworks, and then they launch the application. So if we look at green commodities markets, so there is a lot of countries that committed that by 2050, they want to have 100% of the commodities green, at least some green attributes to it. And so if we look at the modest projections, so in this year we have approximately 40 billion volume on green commodities. This is global volume, and the biggest part is maritime fuels, and then the second one is trucking fuels. So right now, one of the solutions, the safe aviation fuels, just to give you an example on the revenues, what numbers are flowing. So 1 ton of kerosene costs approximately $700. And so this is a certificate. And so for this certificate, this application is paying $3. So it's approximately a transaction fee of 0.45. We assume this transaction fee will go down over time, but that is approximately how much transaction fees those registries are earning, which are on the chain. So if we take that examples and we see the projections of the growth of the green commodities, we're looking at the total market accessibility for paying decentralized logic execution of $500 million in 2030. This is a potential, this is a total market available, expecting this growth. We assume we can grab at least half of that, because in most of these markets, we have a very unique position because it was all the corporates from this market that created the solutions with us. So we're not moving in the retail side where there is a high churn. We're moving in markets where we have no churn because we created the solutions together with the market. So this is a tremendous possibility that we have now. We have the revenues now, and we see the revenue growth month to month. It's exploding right now. And now comes an issue, why I'm actually talking about this, because there was issues, how do we bring this revenue on-chain? Because there's a lot of regulatory kind of constraints that we have, how to talk about it, how to define on-chain revenue. So, and here comes the token into the play, Energy Web token. We launched the Energy Web chain, the proof of authority chain, with a token. And the token had two functions. You needed to pay the gas fees, which is basically the transaction fees of the chain. And then it was also an incentive for the validators, which were the corporates, to contribute compute and create the chain. And now what we're introducing with the upgrades that is coming over the rest of the year is that not only you can stake on the chain and contribute to the security of the chain, but you can also contribute to the security of the solution, which is necessary because there is a product that needs staking to increase the security of the solution, of the decentralized business logic execution. So this is something it's already happening now, but it was very difficult for us to combine these two fields because the corporates, they want to pay the solutions in fiat. But to pay the decentralized, the compute providers and the tokens, you can only pay them in tokens because we don't partially know who they are. They're anonymous, they're spread over the globe. And so we needed to bridge these two things. And so there was a big innovation that happened just half a year ago. There was innovators that managed that now you can have a solution that from a bank account you can pay to an IBAN, and actually the IBAN is representing an address on the blockchain. So, and this is something that helped us actually to create the whole picture, where very soon we have corporates that are using some form of application, and they pay with normal subscription with this credit card. They don't touch, they pay with fiat. But it's actually arriving directly a smart contract, which is distributing the fees into the compute providers, into the stakers. And that is what we call on-chain revenue. So then the utility of the token is changing because it's there to securitize the solutions, to do actual work that is needed by the markets to increase the liquidity in the markets, and you securitize the chain. And here's the roadmap, how we roll out. We expect to have first stable tokens payments actually by September, November this year. So what that means is it will be possible to have an Energy Web token to stake on the solution of an energy market, and you get a stable token back as a reward. And that is something that hasn't been there before. So here I want to show this is where we are right now, and this is where we're moving. So there is a fixed supply of the tokens. There's 82 million tokens. They're on the market since pretty much 7 years. So half of that is in the community fund, foundation, founders, affiliates, is all the corporates that joined the foundation, and some of the exchanges. So that is how it's working now. We have clients using the solutions and they pay the solution builder in fiat. But actually what they're paying for is the decentralized business logic execution, which is partially made by the token holders. So we needed to close the loop. How do these payments go to the token holders? And so for now, it was only possible actually, so the inflation that is there, which is going another 10 years until the maximum supply of 100 million tokens, was going to the proof authorities to maintain the chain in the old world. So we have basically, this is the first chain, but the solution we built on a parachain and Polkadot. And this is something that we upgrade, we merge that together. The old chain we are retiring, and so all the solutions are running on Polkadot, and also we have a parachain. So after the upgrade, anyone can contribute to secure the chain with stake, and then they can also contribute to the solutions. And the payments go directly from any type of solutions to the token holders. And that is a very big innovation. So that's actually all I wanted to tell.